All right, let's get rolling on problem number 8. This is a graphical one. This is one that you guys worked out with Mr. Boster the last couple of days. If you work with graphing, actually I didn't work with graphing at all because I wasn't there the first day and the second day we split up into two rooms where I tried to help you guys with your quiz. Some of you guys did that really well. Some of you guys did that really, really poorly. Um, I think part of it was because you guys didn't do well in your quiz. But the other part was, well, I probably shouldn't have put you guys where you guys are sitting so close together. But, that's that. Let's go ahead and get looking at this graphing. So you're trying to figure out max and mins and how to scale your graph. It's really important to identify a couple things. The things you definitely have to identify in both the x and the y are like your mins and your maxes. What's the biggest number you got to reach? What's the smallest number you got to reach? And for our x column, luckily they're kind of the first two entries. So the smallest number I got to reach on x is -20. The biggest number is 18.5. Now I'm not going to probably try to attempt to graph 18.5. But again, this is getting as close as we possibly can. On our y's, we're going to do the same thing. The smallest number, it looks like, is going to be this -80, and the biggest number is going to be this 80, which tells you something really crazy, that I have lots of numbers, big range of numbers I got to reach. So we probably want to take a second to identify that as being the positive x, this as being the negative x. Here is a positive y, and here is a negative y. And that can help us make sure that we're putting our numbers in the right spot. Now, if you look at the x column, the left and right axis on the graph, we got to get it down to -20 and up to 18.5. Now, 18.5 is weird. It's not a common number, so I can overshoot that. In fact, it's a good practice to overshoot a little bit when you're making your graph scale. So we have to get up to 20, so what can we count by? Since we have to graph 18.5, get to 20 is pretty normal. So let's just pick a number and see if we get there. So what if I count by 2's? Well, that'll be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. That's not enough. Let's see. After 2's, the next thing I want to try, let's try 5's maybe. So that's going to be 5, 10, 15, 20. That would do it, but I'm only using about half my graph. And it's not a bad kind of rule of thumb to say, well, I want to try to use at least half my graph, but as much as I can use. And, counting by 5 seems like it's too much. What if we count by, say, like 3's? So let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 20. The biggest number I had to get to was 18.5. 20 would do it. I'm going to go and lock that in. Let's count by 3's. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. So I'm overshooting a bit, but that's okay. 18, 19, 20, 21. And while we're at it, I might as well label the negative side, so we can do the same thing. Remember, we have to get to -20. So that's -9, -12, -15, -18, -21. Okay. And so now let's figure out our y column. We have to get up to 80 down to -80. That's a tall order. 3's aren't going to do it. I don't even know if 5's would. That'd be... So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. No, we won't get to 40. We had to get to 80, counting by 5's. So we have to get twice as far as counting by 5's. Let's try counting by 10's. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Hey, there we go. That'll work. So let's lock it in. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 80. Now we have a little bit of room with graph on top, which is pretty good. Let's figure out on the bottom. Let's just go ahead and do our labeling. So that's -10, -20, -30, -40, -50, 60, -70, -80. Okay. And you don't necessarily have to measure every tick mark, but I'm going to, just so you guys have a clear sense of how I'm picking these numbers. Now it's just a matter of graphing. And you don't have to get perfect on these guys, I'll be honest. Getting close is actually is good enough for this. So the first set we have is -20, -80. That's -20 on the x, we're going to our left. And then up to 80, that's going straight up. So about right there is -20, 80. Now we're at 18.5 and 10. Actually, let me change colors. 18.5 and 10. So 18.5 on the right, and then up to 10. Boom. It's pretty close. Let's go green. 3, -20. So it's starting at the origin. Oops. We're going to go over to 3, and then we're going to go down to 20. Negative 6 and 40, negative 6 up to 40. 9, 80, so to the right 9, and then all the way down here to negative 80. This will be a black point. We have 12 and 5, so right to 12, and then halfway between 0 and 10 should be 5. Negative 9, negative 10, so negative 9, negative 10. That should be brown. So gray. 7.5, 15, so 7.5 kind of estimating, negative 15 should be in the middle, so those are kind of both estimation points. And finally, we've reached 6 and 20, so to the right to 6, and then in between, it's 20. Okay. So a couple things to take away from this. Number one, your graph does not have to count by the same number for the x as it does for the y, but each tick mark has to be equally spaced. So so when I started counting by 3s left and right, I had to count everything by 3s left and right. And that's just kind of the case of graphing. So whatever scale you choose, it has to cover all your numbers, it has to be equally spaced, and it has to use as much of your graph as possible. Cool? So that wraps up for this particular one. I'll see you guys in problem 9.